What happens when you're hungry or you just want to feel happy? Your reward pathway activates, and let me tell you, this pathway is not scrappy.
When you feel good, that means the pathway is started, an action potential generates, and from the first neuron, the dopamine has parted.
But before the dopamine binds to receptors on the next neuron, it must travel through the synaptic cleft. The next neuron now has its own action potential, and this process repeats until no sadness is left.
You might be wondering, how does this work? Well, the act of our favorite neurotransmitter binding makes your mood perk.
What happens to the dopamine after the action potential is moved on? It's a negative feedback mechanism, kid. It can be undone.
A transporter protein from the first neuron will bring the binded dopamine back. This process happens for all the neurons and keeps the whole system from going out of whack.
The action potential starts in the VTA and ends up in many places. One is the amygdala, which brings smiles to many faces. Yeah.
Remember when you were hungry and not in a happy mood? The action potential reaches the nucleus accumbens, which makes you reach for the food.
But wait, life always has its issues. You got addicted to cocaine and now your parents are crying into tissues.
Cocaine binds to the dopamine transporters and now the dopamine can't get back. The positive feedback loop starts and the dopamine will now pack.
The signal is amplified beyond a set point. You feel 10 times better. But don't do cocaine, kids. 'Cause this feeling doesn't last forever.
Too much dopamine is unsustainable and has some bad effects. Anxiety, trouble sleeping, stress, and addiction will not make your life perfect.
You can control your choices, but you can't control what you're born with. Let me tell you about mutations whose effects are not a myth. There's a coding error for the dopamine receptors and they lose their shape. The dopamine can no longer bind and the action potential will not go through but rather escape.
Now that the pathway's been inhibited, the signal has been prohibited. No more dopamine for you, so you're unhappy. Boo!
Dopamine, 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 dopamine.